You've probably seen this happen. You're in a conversation, maybe with a friend, maybe at work, maybe online. Someone says something just a little too harsh. The room changes. Someone awkwardly laughs. The person who got hit by the comment tries to act like it didn't hurt. And then the person who said it shrugs and says, "I'm just being honest." But were they? Or did honesty just become the excuse? Because somewhere along the way, being rude started getting rebranded as being real. I just tell you how it is. I'm not fake. People are too sensitive now. And sometimes, sure, people can be too sensitive. Sometimes hard truths do need to be said. But sometimes that doesn't mean someone is brave. Sometimes it just means that they never learned restraint. So when did being rude become normal? And more importantly, when did honesty become an excuse to be cruel? Honesty is supposed to be a virtue. Most of us would agree that lying is wrong. If someone is making a mistake, honesty can help them. If someone is asking for feedback, honesty can guide them. If a relationship is built on pretending, honesty can save it. But honesty is not just about whether the words are technically true. It is also about why you are saying them. Because a truth can still be used as a weapon. Imagine two people tell you the exact same truth. One says it privately, calmly, because they actually want you to improve. The other says it loudly, in front of everyone, because they want the room to laugh. The information might be similar. The words might even be almost the same. But morally, are those actions the same? I don't think they are. Because communication is not just about accuracy. It's also about intention, timing, delivery, and what you are trying to do to the person receiving it. A truth said to help someone is different from a truth said to humiliate them. That is why I was just being honest is not always a defense. Sometimes it is a confession. A confession that you cared more about saying the truth than saying it well. That being right mattered more than being useful. That maybe the point was never honesty at all. Because here's what nobody admits about rude honesty. It can feel good, not in a way people like to acknowledge, but there is something satisfying about delivering a truth that lands hard. Something that feels like power, like clarity. Like you are the only person in the room brave enough to say what everyone else is thinking. But bravery and cruelty can look identical from the outside. The difference is what you were hoping to happen next. Were you hoping they would grow? Were you hoping they would shrink? Because a lot of people who pride themselves on brutal honesty are not actually interested in the other person's growth. They are interested in the feeling of being above someone, of being the one who sees clearly while others are too soft to handle it. And that is not honesty. That is ego wearing honesty as a costume. Before this starts to sound like a verdict on everyone else, it's worth stopping here. Because most of us have done this. Not loudly, not obviously, but you have said the sharp thing and called it honesty. You have made the joke that went slightly too far and watched someone's face change and kept going anyway. You have said something true at exactly the wrong moment in exactly the wrong tone because some part of you wanted to win more than you wanted to help. You knew where it would land. That is the part worth sitting with. Not that you said something honest, but that you chose the version of honesty that would hurt the most, and then told yourself you were just being real. There is an idea worth sitting with here, that rudeness does not corrupt character, it reveals it. Because when there are no consequences, when no one is watching, when you are anonymous or powerful or simply certain you'll never see this person again, something surfaces. The version of you that exists when nothing is at stake. And maybe that is the more uncomfortable question. Not why people are rude online, but why removing consequences makes so many people cruel. What does that say about what was already underneath? Because if kindness only appears when people are being watched, maybe it was never really kindness. Maybe it was a performance. And maybe a society built only on performed kindness is always one bad day away from showing what it really values. And maybe the internet made this worse. Only you can be cruel and never see the person's face change. You do not see the awkward silence after they read it. You do not see them sitting with it later. You just comment, react, mock, scroll, move on. The internet taught us to speak without seeing the wound. And because there is no immediate consequence, cruelty starts to feel weightless. People become usernames, profile pictures, opinions, targets. And once someone becomes a target, it is easy to forget they are a person. That is why comment section behavior is dangerous when it leaks into real life. Because real life is not a comment section. The person in front of you is not just an opinion to defeat. They are a person who has to carry the weight of what you say after the conversation ends. But I also don't think the answer is as simple as people are just worse now. Maybe people are not getting ruder because they hate each other. Maybe people are getting ruder because everyone feels like they need armor. People are stressed, defensive, lonely, overstimulated, used to being judged, used to judging first. So rudeness becomes a kind of shield. If I act like I don't care, no one can hurt me first. If I mock first, I don't have to be vulnerable. If I seem above everything, maybe no one will notice that I'm not. In that sense, rudeness can look like confidence from the outside, but underneath it, it might just be fear wearing armor. And this is where the deeper question comes in. The question is not just, why are people rude? The question is, what do we owe each other? Not in some grand heroic way. Not when the world is ending. Not when there is a massive moral test, but in ordinary moments. In how we speak to the person serving us food. In how we respond when someone makes a mistake. In how we disagree. In how we joke. And whether we embarrass someone just because we can. A lot of morality is not dramatic. It is small. It is the tiny decisions to be patient when you could be sharp. To explain instead of mock. To criticize without humiliating. To be honest without being cruel. And those small decisions matter, because they shape what it feels like to be alive around other people. A society is not just laws and buildings and roads. It is also tone. It is the atmosphere we create between each other. The danger is not just that rude people hurt people's feelings. The danger is that when truth keeps arriving as humiliation, people start avoiding truth altogether. They stop trusting criticism. They stop opening up. They stop asking questions. They assume honesty is just cruelty in disguise. And that is a problem, because we need honesty. We need people who can say difficult things. We need people who can challenge us. We need people who can tell us when we are wrong. But if honesty loses care, it becomes something people fear instead of something people learn from. So maybe people are getting ruder because being rude is easy. It is easy to react, easy to mock, easy to dismiss, easy to say, I'm just honest, and never ask whether your honesty had any care behind it. What is harder is pausing, thinking, choosing words that are still true but not needlessly destructive. That is harder because it requires you to care about something beyond your own urge to speak. And maybe that is what we are losing, not honesty, care. So when did being rude become normal? Maybe when we started believing that being honest and being kind were opposites, but they never were supposed to be. Maybe the real test of honesty is not whether you can say the truth. It is whether you can say it without turning it into a weapon. Because if your honesty needs someone else to feel small, maybe it was never honesty. Maybe it was just cruelty asking for permission. And maybe kindness is not the enemy of truth. Maybe kindness is what stops truth from becoming violence.